Hey everybody, welcome back to Roadside Nuggets. Oh boy, it's been a roller coaster ride. um, Definitely have missed all of you, have missed a lot of just interacting with you all. Definitely the team has been through quite a bit of movements lately as the energies roll in. And also, I would say also just for the collective in a lot of ways because there's a lot of things that are rolling out for everybody, but given there needs to be an experience to spark it off. And so this is what just really in a lot of ways that the team has taken on in a lot of ways just to go through the experience, so to speak. I was explaining this to somebody else the other day. I can't remember who it was, and in consciousness and in the evolution and expansion of that, there needs to be a catalyst, a spark, every single moment. Whenever the expansion is ready to expand, for the evolution to occur. Now, in this, it requires a physical vessel to go through a certain experience in order to allow that energy into the physical experience itself. Does that make sense? Therefore, there needs to be somebody. Out of the 8 billion people on this planet, there needs to be somebody that says, okay, that will allow, that will surrender, that will go through the actual experience of the energy, whatever that higher vibration is going to cause to the lower frequencies. In the process of that transformation, there needs to be a vessel that says, okay, I accept, I surrender, I will allow this. And this is a big responsibility, and this for everyone waking up and everyone that's coming online and embodying your higher self, and thus for you too that are taking on collective energies on top of your own. This is a good discernment to be aware of and also to keep in heart that this is going to cause a lot of shifts. It's a natural transition. It's a natural cause to the evolution that's happening, right? Humanity is so stuck on inconvenience, on demand, things that are just expected and they can predict them to happen. However, if something entirely new is ready to transpire, how are we going to handle that? What's the attitude? How are we going to act during that process? And that's ultimately where we are getting to, where this is going to start happening faster and faster and faster. There are less moments for humanity to think into things before the experience is already in front of them. And this is going to get more intense. This is going to speed up to a point where you really don't have moments to think. It really is based off your intuition, your feeling, and what is highest in that moment based off of what you can feel, which is entirely different than how humanity has been programmed and conditioned into planning, predicting, premeditation, ulterior motive. What's in it for me? What's the benefit? All these different things are going to start to constrict and squeeze inward. This is going to cause a lot of irritation for the being itself in the experience because they have prided and expected everything in their life to solely right off of what they have put in place. Their control, their belief systems, their lack of acceptance of things that are greater and beyond themselves, only things that they can see, only things that they can touch, only things that they can control may be allowed into the human experience, which this does not work anymore. It never really worked, however, with how long manifestations really took for it to come into the physical experience. That gap is now closed in very fast. It was not a gradual process. It literally was in a snapshot, some would say, where these things are happening faster and faster and faster, and it's going to be able to speed up. And this is important because it's going to get to the point where in the human experience, everyone on this planet, it's going to get to a point where nobody on this planet is going to be able to deny that with their thoughts and intentions and the emotions they're putting into things, that they are literally living out those physical experiences very quickly. It's going to happen so fast and so right after every single thought and intention at some point that it's going to occur to the human being, wait a minute, I just thought about this. Wait a minute, I just was going through this. I was just feeling this. I was just yelling this out. I was just stressing about this. And they're going to be able to start to see a trajectory happening from what they are internally going through, and it is fully connecting to the external reality in some way where they are living through the experience. This is going to cause a lot of fear and anxiety and stress, because now that they have come to this understanding that these things are really playing out in real time, and they're not a figment of their imagination, and these are not things that are being done to them, they're actively in the moment feeling, thinking, projecting these energies out into the timeline and then living them out very quickly soon after, to the point where they can't blame anybody, really. You can't say this is someone else's fault. Humanity has to get to this point. They have to grow to the maturity of realizing that they are responsible and accountable for their choices. Same thing we've been saying for years after years after years, like just beyond. When Mom even started the mission beyond, it's like you have got to be responsible and accountable for the thoughts, the energies, the things that are going through you and that are happening around you. There is a direct correlation directly to yourself that is transmitting and is allowing it into your experience for some reason. And then we have to get past this good and bad thing. Nothing is good and bad, okay? And I would share with you personally, from my own experience on the mission over these years, there are no rules in heaven, and there is no good or bad. Everything absolutely happens for the highest truth, the highest healing, the highest awareness, which all of creation receives in that moment. That it is obtained, it is discovered, it is become aware of. All of creation receives those downloads and integrations and codes and understandings of it in that direct experience. Therefore, every single person walking around this planet, this is where it's going to really get very tricky for everybody. And this is something that I've struggled many different moments within myself, about forgiveness, letting go, learning how to move through things. And then I realized after a moment, the ultimate truth we are still making it to, that humanity has yet to realize that this team itself is not there yet. We are all still growing and still mastering and embodying our higher selves. However, the ultimate truth that humanity is still innocent. That's a kicker at that point. Even for myself, with the team, with our awareness of what we have watched God go through and what we have caused, what we have allowed. All of humanity, 8 billion people, have allowed and have put on God on this planet, have done over our lives. All these choices that have destroyed, that have hurt, that have caused pain and suffering, that have definitely are not our best choices we have made in life. Let's just say that. At the end of that, to come to the understanding that we are still all 100% truly innocent. It's a big pill to swallow. Because if you accept that, you cannot accept that for yourself. You have to accept it for the whole, because humanity is honestly innocent. That's God's truth at that point. So you can't argue with that. You can't deny that. You can't just separate that and be like, well, I'm just innocent, and still try to blame other people, still try to blame other organizations, other groups of energies. You see what I'm saying? It's an all or nothing type of deal. You either accept your complete, utter innocence, thus accepting the innocence of the entire race of humanity and that they do not know what they do, or you go into denial and fantasy and sabotage, trying to separate your innocence from everybody else's, which really does not make sense, because you're human. In this life, in this incarnation, you are human. You're not Andromedon, you're not Pleiadian, you're not a Lyran, you're not some Arcturian. You are humanity. No matter how much you try to fantasize and try to disassociate and project yourself externally outward into some other delusion that is not real right now in this present moment, yet you give so much favor, so much respect, so much energy and focus to these other distant illusions that you will not live out in this lifetime as a human being, yet it bears more weight than your own current life you are existing in. These are serious allegations, humanity, that we have put on ourselves because we disvalue ourselves. We put ourselves in some very unworthy status because we're still basing everything off of hierarchy. We're still basing everything off of a system of measure that does not exist and never existed in the first place. But who told you that it did? Who accepted it? Who bought it? Who created a life based off of it? We did. All of us. So at some point you gotta realize, okay, cat's out of the bag, the truth's out there, I see it, I understand it. What's next? Acceptance. And just moving forward from there, really. And just seeing that you have been wrong, right? There is no right or wrong. However, when you come to the conclusion that there is a higher choice now to be made and you're making a lower choice, in a certain way, in a context, you could say, okay, that is not the right choice. Because you are aware of the higher choice at the same moment, even though you are tempted to make the lower choice. Therefore, you cannot say, in full integrity and honesty, that I did not know. I don't know. No, you are aware in that moment now that the higher awareness, the higher truth is now being given to you, shown to you. You just don't want to accept it. Stubbornness, pride, arrogance, control, lack of surrender, lack of trust. Whatever it does, whatever it is, whatever is going through you in that moment, it doesn't matter. Because the truth is always going to be the truth. No matter which road you choose to get to the truth, and if you see the truth down 3 different lanes and you still chose a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lanes, it's still going to reroute back to the same truth you saw down the other pathways, but it was not moment. It was not the moment for you to accept it. It was not time for you to understand it. You needed more experience. You needed more growth, maturity, expansion. There's nothing wrong with that. Right? However, when you come to the point where you fully can resonate, there's a higher choice, there's a higher way of being, there's a higher way of loving yourself. And stop giving your power away to other people and your energy away to other people. There's an internal wrestle that starts to happen, because, and this is definitely for myself and my personal experience too, the martyrism is chaotic. It is a storm not to be reckoned with, because it's just pure sabotage. It will keep going on and on and on. You'll find a reason all the time to be a martyr for something, right? Thinking and expecting that that's going to bring about different results or a change or a shift, when it's not, because you're still disvaluing yourself. You're still being unworthy. So how in the world could you ever expect things to change to where you are appreciated, you are supported and loved, if still you yourself are still sitting in that poverty consciousness, the victim consciousness, the choosing that, the things that I do aren't worth anything, the things that I say and share, the things that I do. Why worry about it? Why care? I do things to do it, that's it. There's no purpose, no fulfillment behind it. And this is where we get into this battle with ourselves, where we keep comparing to other people, keep trying to observe. And this is a very much part of our childlike self. This shows in so many ways that we are still old children. We never stopped being children. No matter how old we are, that we think we are in this life, how we think we look, and this is what our age is, and this is why, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't exist. Everyone on this physical planet right now, walking around in a physical body on 2 legs, is a child. No matter what. And this is going to change a lot of dynamics within our perspective, because if we're children, but we're trying to apply this adulthood systematic approach to everything, it doesn't fit us. It never did fit us. This is why we're so unhappy. It's not who we are. It's something that a system or other beings are trying to tell us that we need to apply to, need to conform to. Yet in the same way, it's not really bringing us a lot of benefit or joy or expansion. It's really like this everyday redundancy that keeps going on, but it doesn't change. Why doesn't it change? Yet the body changes, the days change, the weather changes. Plants, nature, animals, everything around you, everything is changing. Yet why is this not changing? Why do I have to do this for 30, 40, 50, 60 years? Why do I have to be this way for the rest of my life? Yet everything else in life gets to change. Who told us this was supposed to be so? I wonder. And this is where we get to the point where we're like, okay, somewhere along the lines I crossed the wires. Somewhere along the lines I got mixed up. I made the wrong choices. And we have to slow down. We have to really put the brakes on. And there's no fear in this. And this is where I feel a lot of fear comes from the collective too, is where we think we need to slow down, or we have to slow down, or that our experience, our life is causing us to slow down. This fear comes up where we're like, well, no, I can't get behind. I can't miss out. I can't lose out on time. I'm already this far in. I'm already this invested. I can't stop. It's like this fear that once you slow down, because you've been running for so long, you're going to lose the momentum and you're not going to be able to pick it up fast enough. Does that ring a bell to anybody? You're so afraid to slow down because you've been running for so long that the moment you start to slow down, the fear creeps in that you won't be able to keep up the pace anymore. Something's going to happen. You won't be able to stay ahead. And all the fear and anxiety and the panic that you've created within your own mind that you have allowed to keep growing and growing, which is so far blown out of proportion from the actual reality of events. It's far worse in your mind. And that fear creeps in at that point when you start to slow down, that this is now going to be your reality, the fear that's been growing in the mind, that you've been feeding over long moments. Now it's possibly going to become your reality. And you can't bear the thought of it. Yet you've constantly been throwing this on your back the entire time through. The entire trip through on this journey, you've been thinking this, fearing that. Have so much anxiety about this happening. You never really let yourself have that experience. You allowed so many windows to open up, that things that might happen, things that might take this away from you. And you gave them more energy, more focus, and more attention, and more control over your experience than you did yourself, which is trusting that you are loved, trusting that these things are meant for you, that you are loved by God and all of creation, and that why wouldn't life itself want to deliver you the greatest abundance and beauty and prosperity in your life you've ever experienced. It's such a thought so far out there that we have been so suppressed, so deprived and traumatized, we really don't feel life is playing the same game as us in a lot of ways. We feel like we're still in survival mode. We're still trying to fight to survive and win and have to compete. These things have never been part of our true reality existence. They are figments of our imagination that have been hijacked by the ego, that have been perpetually pushed and projected into the timeline that we live out every day. It's not real, but it is to the person thinking it is. Until they break out of it, until they realize that it just steals so much of their joy that it no longer brings them any kind of expansion or really growth. And going down the same lane every single day. They want something new, something different, something that allows them to feel something different. And this will cause an expansion because it is change. It is different from every single flow that's been established in that being. This is a new way. This is a new understanding, a new perspective, a new idea that is going to cause everything that has been set in stone to completely upheave itself and shift. Which, of course, for the person, the ego, it's going to be a lot. I won't deny that. I won't tell you a lie. But it is the greatest... it is. I would say the greatest healing. It's the greatest blessing that you could ever receive. Because in this world, we have held on so tightly for fear of loss, for fear of failure, for fear of, just not making it, not succeeding, not becoming the fulfillment of what our life has led us to be. we have to let go and realize that that's not even important anymore. These are different moments of motivation. These are different moments of inspiration that come to us in life where we've lived long years. We've had so many ideas over these years. Are you still doing the same ideas that you had like 20, 30, 40, 60, 80 years ago? Most time, no. And most time that's not even your forefront focus in your day. It's the new ideas, the new jewels, the new beautiful colors that draw your attention, your awareness. Because they are different from what you have been experiencing. Same thing in life with temptation. Every time new things produce themselves before you, there's a sense of urge, of craving, of desire that goes along with it because it is new. And the child that is always within us, that we have always been no matter what, is always curious. And the child is always for new experiences. Spontaneous and brilliant and bright-eyed and just so full of life. The child is always for new experiences. Because the child doesn't have fear. The child doesn't have belief systems of what one thing could be, what it could turn out to be. They'd rather just be in that moment and see for themselves and experience it and trust love and God and faith just to carry them through. And you know what? They have the grandest time. All the while bypassing all this lower shit that humanity keeps getting tangled up in because we keep thinking it's going to happen. We keep projecting it into the timeline. We keep putting the energy out there because ultimately at some point we really just want to sabotage. Because we don't trust it to actually fully come to that conclusion. We don't trust that it truly is our experience, that we are worthy of that. So it's going to be something bad. It's going to be something awful. It's going to be a loss. It's going to be a crazy, nervous thing that you're going to sit there and panic about all night. And it's just like, you know what? It's not worth it. I don't want to do it. Nope. Block, control, bypass, move around, evasive maneuvers, the whole 9 yards. But where does it get you? Does it help you feel loved? Does it help you feel expanded? Does it help you feel included? Part of anything. Participant in anything. Where we feel the greatest disconnect. And unplugged with ourselves. It's truly what's internal, what's going on within yourself, and what you will not allow, what you will continuously deny every single day. You say, no, it's something else. No, it's not that. No. And then you come to the painful result that it always was that. And that's why it kept coming back to you. Our discernment and intuition is starting to grow very fast. And where humanity does not trust themselves in what they think in a lot of ways, what they think they are thinking, but really it's not thinking. It's divine intuition that comes through the thought system, but it is not your rampant thinking that you do every day. This is going to split, where beings start to realize there is a difference between their everyday thoughts that keep rambling on and on and on, and these different ideas that just somehow just out of nowhere, just pop in place, just come out of nowhere. And it connects so many dots for themselves, and they've never thought about it that way. They've never felt into it anywhere close in that aspect before. But now that they are in that zone, it completely completes so much for them that they have been wondering, so curious about. Those moments are going to become more in a moment. I guess this is the best way I can put it. They're going to become more rampant, more abundant in every day throughout the moments until we can start to discern that there is a difference. And we start choosing the voice of intuition and discernment over the thought repetitive system that keeps rambling on, which just really is just regurgitated. It's all the different things that we have put in our brain over the years that we have learned through trauma and abuse and hatred and rage, all these different things that we have put in place and collected through the mind. It's going to override that thought system where the new, fresh ideas, the new, fresh perspective, the changes offer a whole lot more to us, and we feel the worth in that. Far more into something that we've been putting our energy in our whole life that has not been working. And at some point you realize, what do I have to lose at some point? Really? What do I have to lose at all? At this point at all? Try it. Try a new idea. Try a new change. And see how that brings up so much more in you, where it's like, if you don't know it, what in you gets triggered in those moments you are not familiar with the experience? Those are the lesser transformed parts of yourself that need more love, that need more focus, that need more preparation going into life and experience. Because those are the parts of yourself, honestly, that get caught off guard when you are in those relationships, intimate moments, when you're in those situations, when you're communicating and relating with other people and other beings, and the energies start reflecting backwards, back and forth. There needs to be a moment of reflection to see, okay, I got to transform this. I got to look at this. I got to see, why is this happening? Because a lot of times through our control, we stem off so much experience from the external world, from our reality, and we try to put ourselves in a box that's very measured, very controlled, very planned out. And anything that goes awry, that steps a hair out of place from that plan, there's triggers, there's issues, there's dynamics that start to happen that wouldn't normally happen if everything worked out as planned. So then one could probably ask the question, if everything in life changes, and I only get this way when things don't go the way I planned, which would be change, and I'm not okay with that, I don't do well with that, at what point am I actually contradicting my own nature? That's a big question. Because as human beings, we are subject to change in so many ways. Your physical body has changed since the moment you touched down on this planet. You were conceived, you were born into this reality. Your physical body has changed. You, as a person, has changed. Your personality, your way of life, how you see life, how you feel, has changed over your whole entire life. So at one point, what made you think or decide or choose that something didn't have to change anymore? This is where we started playing against life. And then everything we spawned and manifested from that total sabotage of what creation is built off of, we blame God and everything else, everybody else around us. But that is your own. That is our own responsibility and accountability to say, okay, I made that choice. I said that those are my thoughts, those are my ideas, those are my energies, those are my feelings. I have to be accountable for that. Or else the same thing is going to keep reoccurring. Go deeper. If it still keeps happening in more intensity, go deeper. Reflect more. It's not a one-stop thing, and I don't know where people got that from, where maybe it's like the conditioning of society with schools, curriculums and things where like you pass a test and you finish a subject and you don't have to go back to doing that again. Maybe that's where it comes from, but this is a process. This is a transition, and it's almost like a spiral. Coming out from this very tightly wound spiral, coming, further out and out and out, expanding further and further on the spiral outward. But a lot of them are the same reflections. You're learning deeper lessons, deeper awarenesses, because this is way beyond you. It's not just about you and your life experience and healing. It's about the 8 billion people on this planet and the reason why we are even here in the first place. Right? So where did we go wrong, where we just kind of cut everything else off because we thought it was just too big, and we just settled for this lowly, mundane life reality that it just, is not supposed to be different. You're supposed to still work for your dream, your wish. You're supposed to go full throttle to the end of your life trying to achieve something, and only the lucky ones make it. You really want that for yourself? Do you really try to sell that to somebody? You really trying to give that to your children? You get where I'm going at with it? It's the biggest lie on this damn planet. All of it. Human society. And it's something that everyone goes to work every day trying to keep up that lie, trying to play it off to each other like we don't understand. One moment. And it's like this disturbing energy where it's trying to set you off track. in so many different ways and trying to distract you from the ultimate goal and reality of love everywhere present. Hey everybody, just looked at the comments. Beautiful. Hey Michael, Lucy. Aww. On it like Ninja Turtle, like Lemons and Myrtle Cowabunga. I don't feel I've ever seen that person. One love, all human beings. Well, welcome. I love you. Yeah, and this is definitely like, it's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of things going, off the last couple of days in so many ways where like I've done a lot of driving over the last couple of days, and I've had so many moments just to really, through the hours feel into a lot of things. And, I really feel a lot of that I'm going to really go deeply into, and probably write a lot of that down and break it up, because they're very valid points, for the experience everyone's going through right now too. Also I feel like it's not something to rush through, because this is a massive collective experience we're all moving through, and it's not going to happen in a day either. So why overload everyone with so much awareness that it's like, what? Go with the flow. Go with what's going on in your personal experience. Don't sit there and just wait for something to happen. And I feel that's where, a lot of times Mom was very discerning in. It's like not giving humanity too much, not giving the team too much, not saying too much. Because there were moments where it's like, what? It's a process. And just because you're aware of a certain part of that process that we are not in right now does not mean that you can sit there and wait for that process to get here, because it's going to distract you from what you got to do now, right? And it's very true. However, that's where the ego tries to distract us and pull us off the timeline, thus making the journey even longer, because we're not focused where we need to be. So who cares about where we're moving to or what's going to happen? If you don't focus now and get anchored in now and do this now, the later moments are just fantasy, because you're not going to be able to process and bring the energy in because you're not doing the work now. It's this like baby gimme now type childish energy where we as human beings, we've gotten so tired of playing the game that we chose, first and foremost, that we chose from the very beginning to play along and go with and accept. Yet now that we have bought so much into the game and we don't want to play anymore, now it's like we just don't want to do anything anymore. Humanity wants to give up, wants to resist, wants to not surrender, wants to keep doing what they've been doing until they die. Just give me the moments, don't worry about me, be my own little pad, my lawn, it's my chair. I'll die here, don't worry about me, I do what I want. These things, it's like, how did you get so disconnected from life? How did you get so bitter and resentful of life itself that you just don't give a fuck what happens anymore? You don't care what is happening anymore. When did you decide to muffle your child? Because the child, I'll tell you right now, every child on this planet is not okay with how we are treating this planet. So if you don't care and you're not really responsive to any of that, you've muffled your child self so much to the point where it's like children that cry. You ever like the abuse stories like where like the shaking baby syndrome, babies don't stop crying, so then like the people, babysitter, parent, whoever, shakes the baby, and just stop, be quiet. And ironically, that's what we do to ourselves in so many different ways. When that rampant, not really complaining, but the expression that's been held back for so long comes in so strongly, it's like this, just be quiet, just shut up, just fuck off. Don't say anything. Type of shutdown mode that a lot of us go into, where we just try to close off the energy, just try to wall it off. And this does a lot of things to the human psyche and to the physical body that we are not even aware of in a lot of ways as far as 8 billion people go. And it's a short circuit. It's a massive, massive short circuit in a lot of ways, because with the physical body, there's trillions upon trillions of cells in your physical body, right? And where we neglect, our physical self, our emotional self, our mental self, our spiritual self, the entire thing is being recorded at every moment by the cells in the body. And so whether you discerningly, as an individual, choose to love and support yourself or externalize it to another, thus abandoning and neglecting yourself, the physical vessel, the cells, they're not biased. Just because they're your cells doesn't mean they're going to root for you and be like, oh, well, it's me, so I'm going to go easy on myself. No, this is literally recording everything down to a T, to where the body starts breaking down and starts going to wear and tear and dysfunction and not being able to efficiently function is a direct correlation from what the cells in the body have written and recorded over that person's life. From your thoughts, your ideas, from what you have pushed out into reality, what you have actually physically done in action. Everything has been recorded, and it equals a certain energetic vibration. Now, if your physical body is not in the direct vibrational match to what you need to be, according to your blueprint, it's going to suffer. You are going to suffer all those body forms. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. You are going to suffer. You're going to experience pain and suffering and a lot of low frequencies with that, because you are neglecting the very essence of that in yourself. Where people got really used to going to church and like just donating, and I feel like this is like a misconception too in a lot of ways, where people like tithe, and like where the Bible, a book, told you that you need to give 10% of your savings or your income or your abundance or whatever it is to God, and where they feel by doing that it saves them, it does something, it changes something. It's like, oh well, I'll give this, and it's like this gross energy. I absolutely hated sitting in church, and I was, unfortunately, I had to go Sundays and Wednesdays a lot of times, which was like even worse, going twice a week versus once a week. And I hated sitting in church and like feeling this really gross energy come off of all these adults, where like this platter comes down, right? And then like people are like, it's like this power over like dominating energy, in churches. Like I remember sitting there as a child, like in like, you pass this bowl down in the row, and in that row is like people would feel into like like how much they were supposed to give. And that's the thing, is like how much I'm supposed to give. It's based off of expectation, like this power over like very dominating energy, where like if the plate is passed down the row, you're supposed to put money in it. You're supposed to give to God or whatnot, right? And then you can literally feel this energy just creep off of people, where like there's people that like already have a set amount that he's like throw in the bin, right? Or these people that will literally they'll stop the whole row, and like the plate will be sitting on their lap, and they'll sit there and they'll look in their checkbooks and things, and they'll sit there and write different amounts down, and then they'll put that in there. It's a really gross energy of just like this measured, calculative, like how much do I want to give? How much do I want to support? And it's like it's completely for a delusional lie, right? And it's like, and this is where expectation and business and organizations really come into power with that, because it's like it's trying to hijack people's perceptions, what their noble duty is, what your obligations are as not only as a human being on this planet, but also in society, in the community, what your obligations, what you are expected to do as a citizen of the environment, and how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to go along interacting with everybody. And everybody plays along. Everybody buys into it. And since they have already invested into it, who cares if they come across the idea where it's like, wait a minute, like this is all bullshit, right? Because most of the time it goes into resentment and bitterness and just hatred, because then they feel deceived, they feel manipulated and lied to, which has a massive backfire to the spiritual body and the human being, because they still are not at that point taking accountability. that the entire time they were the ones sitting in that chair every Sunday, every Wednesday, eating it all up, paying the tithes, doing all the actions, driving their butt to that church every day, yet they now want to blame. They want to hate. They want to throw it on somebody else. It's like, no, you're the ones who attended that dysfunction every day, yet you can't even look at yourself and accept that, yes, I'm the one that participated in that. We all, as humanity, as 8 billion people, have been participants in the dysfunction. Therefore, nobody gets an exemption card. No one gets a free way out and says, well, I only did this, so I only went this far. No, absolutely not. There's no way out of any of this. Everyone is fully responsible and accountable for everything that's happened on this planet in every single way, whether we are aware of it or not, because you are a part of this reality. This goes so far beyond what we perceive in our own way of form of control of what our actions are, what our choices are, what our doing of things, how it affects other people or the things around us. And that's something that we have denied for so long, that we have disassociated with the true reality that everything you do, everything you say, everything you think, everything you feel, or that you allow to come through you, has a massive effect on 8 billion people on this planet. It has effect on the people in your environment, has effect on creation. It ripples out from this planet across the universe and multiverses. It affects other multiverses, the things that happen on this physical planet. That's far out there. That's crazy. It's wide and massive, yet it still doesn't change the fact that it's happening every single moment, even right now. Every thought, every action you've ever taken has an effect somewhere in this massive form of creation, because everything's one. There's no separation. It's changing something. It's causing something to evolve or expand or to shift. And with that comes a lot of responsibility and accountability, that you are not this free reign atom roaming through creation, doing your own choices, your own actions, and it does not affect anything around you. It's the biggest lie in humanity, that we as an individual self control our individual lives, that we as an individual self have individual realities that do not coexist with other people's. No, it does. It blends in. It actually infiltrates into other people's experiences, so much to the point where we still are in the same blended tapestry. However, everyone's choices and sabotage and how they go about doing things in the dysfunction is affecting the major tapestry we exist in. The ecosystem, the environment that we are all connected to, that we are all affected by in every single way and form, whether you can discern it or not, it's still happening. The physical body is still going through the changes, it's still taking the hits, whether you realize it or not. It's not shifting at all. So that has a lot of detriment to the human being when they come into this awareness of forgiving themselves and letting this go and realizing that I have not been nurturing myself, I've not been supportive, I've not been accepting of even my own life experiences, to the point where how could you possibly want or expect healing or growth or expansion if you cannot resolve or accept where you are at right now? If it's not good enough, if it's not what you are able to work with, energy doesn't come from nowhere. Energy doesn't disappear either. So the same energy you are working with, the same energy you are transforming, is that same energy that's flipping into the higher at the same time. It's all your energy. You're fully responsible for it in every single way across the board, from the lowest to the highest. And all that is your energy you are working with and transforming to cultivate that into full divinity. Therefore, you can't cut anything off. You can't deny anything. You can't say this is me and this is not. It's all you. It's all reflections. It's all part of the experience to help you understand how one everything and every one of us truly are together, and that even though we are unique individuals, the experience is still one. It's a big concept for humanity, for 8 billion people to really digest that and accept that for themselves, let alone for other people that they blame their whole life, that have been the fault their entire life for everything that's gone wrong, gone bad, that hasn't worked out. And these things are agitations. They're frustrations with the human being, because they set their life on blaming. They set their life on and externalizing this so far out that this is their life because of this. they are this way because of this. And this level of blame and externalization is going to hit a crash halting. Because in our experiences, it's going to squeeze back. Everything that's externalized is going to get pushed back inward. And where you have not been allowed to make space for this in yourself, this is going to trigger the control. Where it's going to allow you to see how much control you have had in place that did not allow you to see this part of yourself. And again, it's a process. This process leads to this process, and it's a transition. Therefore, you can't jump, you can't skip, you can't speed up or fast forward, because everything your physical body is recording, you're going through the experience. Therefore, it's all relative. It's important. And the more focus and meaning you give this to yourself, the more it's going to allow you to shift and change and grow in a more accelerated rate. The funny thing is, like, when people want to speed past things, or they just want to bypass or get over it, a lot of times they just went through the process and allowed the transition. The acceleration of that would be way faster versus them resisting it, versus them not surrendering to it. That's the ultimate truth. But the ego is going to flip it for you to where you feel you can force it, and therefore bypassing the things that are so important for your growth and expansion that need to be there, no matter what. There's a lot of growing pains coming, humanity, but the waves definitely, the waves are coming. And a lot of the energies that are building up, especially as we move more into like the fall, winter time frame, that deep internal part of the collective consciousness we're about to dive deep into, we already have a lot of landmines set in place. There's a lot of things that have already pushed up to the surface, have already come out, and a lot of things that have already shown themselves that they are very direct markers for real life events we are about to head forwards into, later on this year, and that, I don't know shit, just what the angels share and just what, I can experience and feel what we are going through the field and the collective team experience. These things are not slowing down. And this displacement energy and this, this forward shift is going to put humanity in situations they have never been in before, and it's going to cause you to have to make changes, make different choices, come up with different ideas like none ever before. And even though that experience and moment might be temporary, it's enough of a catalyst to get you shifted into a different space where you can have new ideas, new choices. You feel confident and more trusting of yourself through the experience that you have to go through now. For when these moments are coming up, you have more trust and confidence in yourself just to follow through with it. You have to make it to that high ground, and at some point, the experience is going to be enough to push you to that level where you just have to make that choice and accept and move forward and see for yourself and realize that that's always been in you. It's been so outside yourself. You've given your power outside yourself to so many people or other things that you never actually slow down for a moment to realize that that's always been there. So when mom puts on this pause, mom's going to put the brakes on so fast to where it's going to become a very big reality for you. And you're going to be able to surrender and accept that, you know what? It's not worth resisting anymore. Just allow it to flow and come in, and it will all change, right? So I love you all so much. I'm so grateful for everyone joining. See you tomorrow morning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Mountain Time with Buddha and Jerry. And definitely drink water. We just had a massive double full moon. So that definitely is bringing up a lot of emotions, a lot of waterworks. So stay present with yourself, do ceremonies if you haven't done that already, and move slowly. You got to slow down to speed up, and there's nothing wrong at all with the slower pace, because you can catch more awareness and you can observe a lot more when you're not trying to speed through it. All right? So I love you all. Mom loves you all. She appreciates every single one of you that stand up for yourselves, that are supporting her, this mission, love, and you're doing the greatest and grandest best that you can in these moments. She's not asking you to be a star. She's not asking you to be the 100% embodied. Wherever you are in this life, wherever you are in this experience right now, if you can just make the best, grandest, highest choices you can for yourself in that moment that you can, she's grateful and she's happy with that. Okay? So have more compassion for yourself and more patience and love for yourself, and you'll feel a lot better and more motivated to push through the harder tests, because it's not going to change them. We still got to go through it all, but if we feel better and we're more supported, it's going to make the ride a lot easier, right? So I love you all. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you all tomorrow.